You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's talk about this interesting subject, and you should find it interesting, really. There's this popular saying, though you could debunk it, that if you want to hide something from a Nigerian, put it in a book. That's the sad reality, but arguable, though, as the era of digital distractions is slowly putting an end to the reading culture among many Nigerians. Not only does reading encourages quick learning, it also aids creativity and expands the human horizon, as well as acquisition of skills. Reading, whether for pleasure or for academic purpose, is an essential habit that forms the bedrock of greatness, regardless of age, gender, or status. Based on this, organizers of this year's Nigeria International Book Fair are looking to use the event as a medium to revive the reading culture among Nigerians. We have with us in the studio now, chairman of the Nigerian Book Fair Trust. He's also the president, Booksellers Association of Nigeria, Oluwatuyi. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I see things are, in top gear ahead of next week's International Book Fair.
Yes.
It's themed around the universal basic education and basically to aid the reading culture in Nigeria. Talk to us, about that. What do you intend to achieve?
Thank you very much. The Nigerian International Book Fair actually aim to bring together the stakeholders in the book industry, and the purpose is to ensure that the growth of education, but more importantly, the reading culture in the country. The stakeholders in the industry are made up of the publishers, the printers, the booksellers, authors, librarians, and the likes. So we are the ones that produce the information that you use in the educational system. The books, now we are having books, the books that are being used in schools. So this year we are focusing on the basic education. This is as our theme for this year, starting from the basis, from the nursery, primary, and secondary school.
Interesting. So there is something that I normally find kind of offensive. That was what you quoted when you started. The saying that if you want to hide anything from an African, hide it in the, put it in the book. And I tried to look for the origin of that saying, and some even claim that it was Martin Luther King, but there was no proof to that. But what others are pointing to is that it's such a derogatory, remark, for Africans, looking at, because it kind of perpetuates harmful stereotypes and undermines the rich intellectual traditions and diversity across the African continent. What's your reaction? Do you cringe every time you hear this? Or is it actually a maxim? Is it a true statement when they say, if you want to hide anything from an African, you can't put $1 in a book for me, and I won't find it?
It's actually worrisome, and it's not palatable at all to hear.
But is it true?
It's not true. I don't believe in that. What we say also, even in Nigeria, we say the reading culture, some will say is dead, some will say the reading culture is dying. In Nigeria and Africa, we read. It's not that we don't read, but what do we read these days? When our age were young, when we're in schools, we compete for how many Ali books have you read? How many Miss Bamboo have you read? How many pages have you read? In fact, personally, I read dictionary as if I read novels.
That's right.
So, but these days, we have so many things competing with our attention. With the phones, the gadgets, electronic gadgets are there. And so when you are on the phone, you are also reading. But what are you reading? How impactful is what you are reading on the phone to you and to the environment? And so we are out to ensure that the reading culture is revived. The government have been trying for quite some time. You remember during our President Jonathan, that was the maxim of bring back the book. But when you are bringing back the book, do you get the stakeholders involved? So our government policies, sometimes as good as they are, when the stakeholders are not involved, you won't get to the to the basis. You won't understand even the problems. So we have this Nigerian Book Fair annually, and this year is going to be the 23rd edition. Book fair are held all over the world. Yeah. And if you visit any other countries, especially in the developed countries, you see it's a big event. It's a government thing. So we are thanking our government that they are now coming into participating with us, into collaborating with us to ensure that we are also achieving a milestone.
Right, and I see that in one of your past editions, you focused on e-reading, you know, how that perhaps, is it a rival now? Is it a good rival in this quest for a better reading culture in Nigeria? And you said something about that people are reading now, but what are they reading and where are they reading it from? Are they reading from, of course, more people are reading, you know, from their phones, are reading all sorts from their phones as against hard copies. And, you know, this book fair that you're planning, what even, you know, generally, do you see that as an advantage, this issue of e-reading culture as against the hard copy reading culture? Can they work together?
Sure, they are working together, and they have to work together because the world itself, human beings, we are all evolving, and there's development here and there. So if you don't move with trends, you'll be left behind. The hard book is set, and it will stay for a long time. I'm not sure whether it will go ever. But the e-books is also here. So they are cohabiting, and we are ensuring that, because for our children, they find it easy to use the tablets, to use the phone. So you have to get their attention through that. And so for the phone, the tablet, the system, they can also accommodate so many information at the same time. So you can carry a phone and you are carrying about 1,000 books, whereas physically you can't carry. However, it's not that convenient for many to also read from the phone or from the laptop. You have to use your glasses and it affects your brain sometimes. So, but they are cohabiting because information has to get to the people, has to get to the end users. Especially in the university, you have the databases whereby researchers goes to and then do the research. And then you still have the hard copy journals. You have the hard copy books on the shelves. So they are cohabiting and they will continue to do. I believe that there's no problem with that. And also in Nigeria, we're also stepping up to that. Our publishers are also now doing e-books. We are getting our books on e-resources and all that, so that schools also can have it in their systems, in their databases, and then children can also access it.
And I think one of the reading culture is where history comes in and being able to document our own history. As if you ask, the younger generation, even most of us sitting on this table, we know more of the history. We can talk to you about what happened in Greece, what happened in Athens, what happened, back in the years, based on some of the books that we read. And a Senegalese proverb actually says, an old man die in Africa is like a library set ablaze. And this speaks to the documentation of our own history, of our own heritage. How do you think we are faring in this regard in helping the coming generation understand the kind of culture and the diversity we have, not only in Nigeria, but on the African continent?
Yes, we are aware of this, and that's why the National Library of Nigeria, in collaboration with stakeholders in the industry, we also have the network of book clubs and reading promoters in Nigeria. A number of associations coming together to ensure that what we read, we also learn about our environment. I just got a list from one of our consolidators in Europe and UK, and books in Nigeria were published by a publisher in London. About 20 titles. I was shocked. Nigerian titles by Nigerian authors published abroad. So I traveled recently and I was coming back and I stopped at Heathrow Airport, and I met a Chinese woman, And she was telling me history of Nigeria and Africa. She was telling me she has visited about 84 countries. And she was telling me why Nigeria. So I was shocked.
These were accurate accounts.
Accurate, yes, accurate accounts. So what we are saying now is that we should write books about our own culture. We have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals book clubs, and we have the African chapter. I'm a management team of the African chapter. We are selecting books that are written on a cultural base, based on the 17 goals. And we are now sending them to schools. Schools are adopting them, not on chemistry, but general reading, so that the children will know the culture and imbibe it. Just like you have said, if I'm reading a book about Kano, I will feel like I'm in Kano, and I will know the culture of the people in the north. Yeah. If I'm reading about a book written on Port Harcourt, for instance, and I'm in Lagos, I also feel like I'm there. So when people are talking, I can reason, I can connect. So we are using this, and we are also at the USDG book club African chapter, we are also getting authors to write based on the 17 goals, but written by Nigerian or African authors, so that the children can really connect to our culture. So we are aware of this deficiency, and we are also stepping into it. The National Library of Nigeria, especially the current CEO, Professor Chinwe Anunobi, is really very, very particular about this.
Right, but back to your earlier point, while trying to address the first question, the issue of the universal basic education agenda. Of course, we also know that you are drawing up, a strong stakeholder, summit ahead of the event or during the event. Speak to us about it. First of all, what's your assessment? It's not exactly excellent. There's some gaps in the system. How do we go beyond this and ensure that the reason why the UBE was enshrined in the first place is actualized?
Well, for the UBE, I'm not a staff of the UBE, so I won't be. But then I think they are doing a lot. They have this plan whereby they fund the primary up to junior secondary education. They provide funds to the states. Those schools are under the state, but they provide funds to the state. The state annually are expected to provide 30% of such fund. And then UBE under the federal government, UBEC under the federal government provide 70%. So this money is given to the state, and then they can use it for social development, building, renovation, or building new ones, and then they buy books. They buy books which they supply to the children, to the pupils and students, probably free, or at very reduced. I think usually it's free. The government buys, and then they give to the schools so free. So they are doing a lot, and there is also orientation going up here and there, and they are doing training. They are training the teachers also, both at the state level, even UBEC itself also organized training for the teachers. So they are doing a lot, but I hope with time, if it continues, then we begin to see the effect on their populace and generally. But we are working with them as publishers, as booksellers, as authors, to provide the necessary materials to be used in schools. All the books that are used in our nursery primary schools are provided by our stakeholders. So governments also need to pay attention to us. We also need government attention. We are not asking them for money, but if there is a loan or grant that they give to other sectors, they should also look at us, because we are providing the basic tools. If you don't read, you can't be a professional in any other field.
So finance is a strong challenge. It's a challenge for publishers, for
publishers, for booksellers, for authors. Challenge.
Right.
Finance is a challenge. Okay. In other countries, if I use India for example, many years past, it was India stopped bringing foreign books to our country, produced locally, and the government provided the enabling environment, both finance and everything. In fact, they encourage the publishers in India to the extent that when you export, you will also get a commission.
Get a royalty. Yeah.
So
we don't have that.
We don't have that. We don't have that. So our government should, get us involved, and then we'll tell them our problems, and then they can see how to collaborate together, and then ensure that we move ahead.
I'm not sure we still have enough time.
Right.
Right. So the thing is, you said Nigerians will read, but then the question is, do we read what relates to, what is essential? But how do you feel that we can ensure that whatever people read, because some people will say, I read, but what they read is romance. What they read is, fiction. What they read is things that don't even help them, to advance in, helping the country at the end of the day. How do you think we can connect people to what is useful rather than just consuming, maybe garbage that are not really, effective in making them grow?
Yeah, part of doing that is the organization of the Nigerian National Book Fair. At the book fair, normally you see an array of thousands, if not millions, of books in various fields, especially motivational and general readings. That if you visit there, you see, and then you can pick and go and read. When we were young, I go back again. Our parents, during at the end of each school session, school will give us a list of books that we will use in the next section.
Yeah.
Then we take home to our parents. Our parents during holidays will take us to bookshops to go and buy those books. It was like an excursion. We look forward to it.
That's right.
And when we get to the bookshop, parents are picking those books on the list. We are jumping around looking for other books. Hey, mommy, I want this. Mommy, daddy, I like this. And they will pick for us. So we have the knowledge that there are books, other books outside there. And then when our parents get that for us, in fact, as we get home, it's what we first concentrate. Before we resume, we are reading those things, So, and parents see that then they want to buy more. But today, schools now don't give lists of books to children again. Schools buy the books.
They have
especially private schools. Buy the books,
buy them from
keep in the schools, and then be the parents and give. So the children don't have any
not a part of
idea that there is something else out there for them.
The adventure is not there.
Most parents are not even aware that there is something else. Even if they are aware, they are blunt, So we parents, all stakeholders, we have a role to play in this.
Right. All right. Okay. We don't have any much time because there are so many areas that we would have loved to explore. The issue of piracy, how much of a challenge it is, but we really must go. We wish you a successful outing at the ceremony. It's a 3-day event next week.
3-day event from Wednesday.
Yes, from Wednesday the 8th.
Yes.
All right. All right. So thanks a lot for speaking with us. Mr. Oluwatuyi, the president of the Booksellers Association of Nigeria and chairman Nigerian Book Fair Trust. Many thanks again for your time.
Thank
All right.
you.
Just before we go on TVC Breakfast this Friday,